iOS adoption rates, truth, fiction, and misdirection. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by our Patreon subscribers. Get access to the MacVoices Slack, the MacVoices Discord, MacVoices After Dark, and have your name listed at the end of each episode of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. Okay, so remember a little while back that there was all this controversy over how little adoption iOS 17 was getting? iOS 26. What am I saying? iOS 26 was getting. Well, guess what? That was completely all wrong. And I just threw the links in the chat room because unknown to a lot of people, including at least me, I won't speak for everybody here, iOS 26 is not always announcing itself as iOS 26 because of all the security issues. And so there's a little bit of Apple misdirection going on here, and people were interpreting it as, well, people must really hate iOS 26. And guess what? It's not the case.
Didn't we cover this like a month ago?
We covered the fact that we didn't believe it.
I thought we covered the fact that it was debunked.
As far as I know, this just came out. That it's just been officially, Apple officially brought it out.
Well, Apple just put it out, but the whole explanation was debunked a month ago, and I thought we discussed it because it's that one company is getting the statistics from web browser agent strings, and apparently the agent string still says it's the old operating system. But there's a company called Telemetry Deck that sells software that developers can use to get feedback about what's going on with their apps. And they almost immediately, when the story came out last month, said, well, that's not what we're seeing.
So maybe I didn't remember us making that conclusion. I knew we didn't believe it. I didn't
Jim,
know
you're right. We had that discussion.
Did we? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll be quiet.
Well, no. Let me get Dave in first, and then we'll bring you in, Jeff.
Well, I mean, you brought this to the table here only because of the fact that this is according to Apple. We get all these. I mean, I cover it all the time. We have these surveys. You got these different survey companies are saying they see this or that, or how much was released. But if Apple's bringing in the core numbers here, I mean, I feel more comfortable, relaying this information. But I'm not all surprised. I mean, some people are bellyaching about 26 because it changes this or that. You can't do this. I mean, I was helping somebody the other day, and I said, you have to update to 26, and then she already complained to me. I was like, well, it has security updates. You need to do it, So, but I mean, these numbers seem pretty valid to me. 74% of introduced in the last 4 years is pretty remarkable, if considering, because as always, iPhones that go back that far are going to tend to be a little slower, especially on the newer versions of iOS. But people are still excited about it. I think they were excited about the features. Now, granted, those older phones may not be able to do Apple Intelligence, but I don't think they want to use it right now anyway. And honestly, the way it is now, but I think these numbers look good. I mean, the same thing with the iPads. You're at in the last 4 years, 66% are running it. So those are some pretty hefty numbers for older devices, I must say. So,
I honestly, as far as time goes, a timeline, I'm not sure exactly when the cutoff is for devices that can't be updated. So how many people are out there running older iPads that technically, yes, they're not on the current operating system because they won't upgrade to it?
Yeah, but I think this Apple statistic was they were only counting hardware that was recent enough to be eligible for the upgrade.
Right. It's usually 4 years is what they go back to.
Yeah. So, Jeff?
Every year there's discussions like this, even if they're not here on this show. Mm-hmm. And it really kicked off the year that Apple introduced the iOS, iPadOS, and macOS versions that obfuscated your device as part of their privacy and security measures. So, yeah, Apple is intentionally having devices misreport what device they are, what operating system they're running, and what web browsers they're using. And one of the things that Apple started doing on the Mac was having the font thumbprint, if you will, the installed fonts on your computer, which can be used as a way to identify specific users, because everyone has a different set of fonts installed. So Apple started reporting for all Macs running Safari that that they were all running the exact same set of fonts. And so, yeah, of course, these reports that come out and say, well, no one's adopting iOS 26, no one is adopting iOS 17, or whatever the operating system is. They've been saying this for a few years, and they have to full well know what Apple's doing and that they're reporting irresponsibly.
So what are they, just trolling us for clickbait, Jeff?
They're probably using this as a way to get attention for other services that they sell. That's my speculation.
Okay. At the very least, let's call attention to the fact that iOS 26 is not the disaster that it seems to have been reported or perceived to be. And I still get a little bit upset when people, just push the whole liquid glass issue too much. And maybe some of you guys feel strongly about it, but I just feel like in about every other release, somebody has to get something snarky about something, and the snark catches on, and it stays, and it puts a shadow on things. And I don't mind telling you that I think I went and changed the liquid glass settings. I honestly don't remember, but it has not been that big a deal, especially on iOS and iPadOS. And yet there's still that little niggling jab that people seem to feel obligated to make.
No, I agree with you with that, because I like the liquid glass. It doesn't bother me. And we've talked about it a bunch of times. People just sitting there whining and complaining, oh, I don't like the way it looks. It's transparent. I don't like how it feels. And I mean, you get used to it. Just like anything else Apple's changed over the years. I mean, if you don't like it, then turn it off. If it's allowed, and you can make it more subtle and not as liquid glassy as it is, so to speak. But why do you keep complaining about it? Just, it is what it is. It's a new type of technology. People like the different types of views. We're getting used to different ways of using our devices.
Yeah. Jim?
Can I push back a little bit on all that? I don't think it's
push away.
People,
Yeah, push.
It's not, the stuff I've seen is more objective, and maybe it's because I'm on, developer forums and whatnot.
Sure.
But it's things like, things are on top of each other, so that neither one of them can be read. It's things like they increase the corner radius of windows on the Macintosh for no real reason. So that, for example, now most of the click area for resizing a window is not actually in the window. It's outside the edges of the window. That's just kind of nuts.
Hey, Jim, I'm with you. Although I have seen lots of the emotional liquid glass is crap commentary out there. But for me, the big problem, I know we've kind of gone like off top. I don't know where we went. Anyhow, giddy up. We're along for the ride. The things Jim mentioned, yeah, those are definite issues. The way icons have been redesigned by Apple, where they make no sense. The way Apple is forcing iconography into menus, where
Yeah.
there's so much junk there now. Everything has to have a little icon by it, which means there's no value to any of the icons. And now it's hampered readability when you go to a menu because there's all this extra garbage in there. And we could go on down the line about all the things Apple did wrong in the operating system. Liquid glass in and of itself is not the big issue. But that's the thing that the general public is going to latch onto, and the bloggers, influencers, and journalists who have a superficial understanding about all this. That's what they're going to latch onto.
I think that in the past, Apple was known for being very research based and very careful, and they came up with all these guidelines, which, now it seems to be just like, oh, let's do whatever looks good. They're doing things that completely violate the guidelines that they used to have, which were ostensibly, research guidelines, not just something that was made up, but, they stuck people in rooms and had focus groups of, how do people actually, like if you asked, why is the menu bar at the top? They had, research-based reasons for that. So yeah, the menu bar icons is a good thing. And on the Mac, why does every icon have to be fit into a shape? And if your icon doesn't, we're gonna re-render it so it goes into a gray box. What the heck is up with that? So I think it's, in the past, Apple was very deliberative and very researched, and now it just seems like, oh, we had this guy that was a print guy, and he just, well, let's, I think this is prettier, so ship it. But design is how it works. It's not how it looks, and it really appears that the team at, and sort of the generic label is Alan Dye, but obviously there's a lot of people at Apple, but they just, and a lot of it's like, how did this ship?
Okay, so yeah, Jeff, you're right. We're way down the rabbit hole here, but let's just keep going. We talked about Alan Dye and the fact that he was a print guy, and has this had anything to do with it? We also have talked about how Johnny Ive's departure might have affected Apple, overall from the design standpoint. So whether they're in a transition phase, whether it was a situation where there were powers that be that wanted some of these things, and you can only push back so far before you start endangering your job. And so how much did any of this have to do with some of these changes? Because look, I'm the first one to tell you that the system settings drives me crazy every time I open it. So
only because it's hot garbage.
Well, Jeff, unfortunately, yeah. Trying to figure out the logic to it, and if there is one, somebody drop me an email and let me know, because I have yet to find it.
Well, and the thing about that is they came out with that. They have not improved it in through either their own use or from feedback, because everybody's feedback is what you just said, Chuck, right? I haven't seen anybody that's like, oh, I just love the new system settings. But not only that, they've extended it, and now there are other apps that are they also have the same, that same architecture for their settings. So it's like, oh, it's like we're just not paying any attention. La da 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 da.
I'm going to now. I'll push back on you, Jim, on that one, because
Sure.
I can almost understand that, because things at the scale that Apple does them, there's a momentum, and you just can't turn that battleship on a dime. And so, these things may have been in the works. They may have been, just there, and it may take them a little while to get them back out. I would like to see that they think that they will. And maybe there are things that could have been changed immediately that weren't. But then again,
system settings has been a few years now, right?
Yeah.
And what's the old saying? If you find yourself in a hole, stop digging.
Yeah, but Alan Dye just left. What, a couple months ago? So if we're going to tar and feather him,
I don't think you can blame one person, but
I'm going to say his team. Okay, let's put it that way. He and his team that
and he's not the only one that left either. But
he and his lieutenants.
And honestly, in the developer community, I think there's a lot of people that think it's that the decline of Apple UI started when Jony Ive was put in charge of it. So Johnny beat to a different drum. There's no question about it.
But it had chamfered edges.
Well, chamfered edges thin at the expense of performance
on the hardware side, but also on the software side of taking out starting with iOS 7. Well, that's a button? Looks like text. Can't tell what's a button anymore.
Eric, get in on this.
There's so much I agree with. I mean, the fact that you can't use system settings from the dialog, you actually have to use the view menu to get to everything is just insane.
Mm-hmm.
However, what I'd like to remind everybody is that how you feel about the OS shouldn't really just be a single issue, or in this case, maybe 5 issues, because there's a lot that came out that in the 26 update that was actually helpful as far as being able to reboot a machine and log in remotely. I can't tell you how much that improved my life. Little fixes here and there. The fact that you can actually search for a photo and find it has been a nice improvement. How it's all arranged and how it looks and the transparency, especially if you have problems differentiating colors, has been just a nightmare. But they give you 2 different ways to turn it off. I'm not sure if that's also indicating a problem that there's 2 different ways to do it. I guess it's not a throw it all out because these couple of things are so bad. Hopefully there will be changes as rapidly as there can be changes, and going back to kind of a thoughtful approach to how people are actually using the systems. Some of the considerations that actually went into some of the design on the Vision Pro would be really nice to see migrating out elsewhere. I guess.
Yeah, I think that's some of the commentary I've seen on developer channels is, the Vision Pro did not get infected with this, this philosophy or whatever. To me, it seems like a lot of the problem is, there's a saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I think the design team has a lot of I need to make my mark on it. And, things have to change just because that's good for my career. That I can say, I peed here, basically. And, I've seen a lot of people say, and I kind of agree, I wish we could go back to the Mac had the best user interface, like maybe Mavericks. If you could give me a switch and went back to 5 years ago or even 10 years ago, I think there's a lot of people that would take that switch. It's just we've just been changing, but not improving. It's just
I guess, once again, we'll have to wait and see because it's all beyond our control. But
that's right.
And I have to say, Barry in the chat room said that he's on the same page as Jeff and Jim. So you have one agreement there. So
I think that settles the debate for you right there.
Yeah, well, Barry also pointed out that OS 26, XOS 26, whichever one, is not a disaster, but Apple was still doomed, of course. So, true. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page. And get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.